So we picked a fun topic today. Well, welcome to YA Conversations, first of all.
Welcome.
I'm Madeline. This is
Zach.
And we've been picking a couple of different topics every week, and we thought this week we would talk about spirituality, what it is. Why spirituality?
Yeah.
And maybe what could spirituality look like? Does it look different for different people?
Why the topic though?
Oh, why spirituality?
Yeah.
Good question. I think nowadays a lot of people categorize themselves maybe as spiritual, not so religious.
Yeah.
I was looking up some different definitions of the both of them, and there seems to be a difference between being religious and being spiritual.
Yeah.
And a lot of people these days, a lot of millennials, would categorize themselves as spiritual as opposed to religious.
So what do you mean? Like, well, I've heard people say that too, and I always try and get to the root of like what are you trying to tell me when you tell me that you're spiritual but not religious? Like you don't come to church, you still feel like you have a connection to God, or you just have kind of been turned off of organized religion of any sort, or what is that all about? Like what is the spiritual but not religious? What are people trying to say? What do you think?
Good question. I think so. I have a friend who would say that they're spiritual, and almost I think people don't like the ideas, the connotation that comes with the word religious. I think maybe automatically there would be almost like a negative rules,
Right.
Performance, just a lot of law.
Yeah.
Like you have to complete this checklist to be religious or whatever, to be a good person. Whereas spiritual is almost connecting to something larger than themselves. It's a little bit more open, maybe.
Right.
It feels maybe a little bit more accepting.
Right. So I guess my thing's always like what does Christianity have to offer somebody who says that I'm spiritual but not religious? And then the other thing I was thinking about is how do we express our spirituality, I guess, as Christians, and how do you do that in a time when you can't necessarily gather with other believers? Because I think that's a really big component of having a spiritual life and being a spiritual person is to do this with other people. But what does Christianity have to offer to people who want to be spiritual but not religious?
That's good. I think Impact carries a certain flavor of just spirituality is not so religious, like if we could say that. Like, I think people come in here sometimes thinking that we do have a list of stuff that you have to do to be saved, right?
Yeah.
Or to stay a Christian,
Right.
Right? I think as an Impact family, I think what we offer would be that all you have to do is believe. Like it says if you believe in your heart and confess with your mouth that Jesus Christ saved you, then you're saved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not that Jesus has this list of stuff that you have to keep. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Kind of like it's. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think people equate religion, like you said, for real, with like this is how you have to live. Here's a certain set of rules and behavioral expectations that I want to put on you. And by the way, you got to pray for like 20 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Or we actually got into a pretty interesting conversation in our last young adult Zoom meeting, which big shout out for this Friday coming up, 7:00. But we were talking about fasting and just different ways that people do different things to express themselves spiritually or to the actual practical side of what people do in their spiritual relationship with Jesus. And I think sometimes that can be a little bit confused because what happens in Christianity is, you accept Jesus, you have faith in him, and he makes you alive. We're spiritual beings, so I think everybody's kind of hungry for this kind of spiritual awakening and this kind of experience with God. So just another shout out to Ghost Stories at Impact Church. But I'm really looking forward to this series because it's all about the Holy Spirit, and he's actually the person of God that we have tangible encounters with right now, which I think is also at the heart of people's desire to be spiritual, is they want to have an experience with something outside of themselves and something bigger than themselves. And I think that the person of the Holy Spirit makes that very real to us, makes Jesus very tangible to us in a really cool way. So people are rejecting organized religion, but I think what they're rejecting is they're rejecting the people putting rules and putting expectations on them, and people are just kind of wanting to say, well, I want to experience God for myself, and I want that to work out in my life in natural ways, organic ways. I don't know. What do you think?
I like the word you used, organized religion. Like, I think people probably want to stray away from that.
Yeah.
So do you think people could be, they categorize themselves as spiritual? Do you think there are more spiritual people and less spiritual people? Because you hear this thing, oh, that was so spiritual, or, oh, you know what I mean? Like, is that a thing, measured spirituality?
Yeah, I understand, I think, what people are trying to say there. I just think when I see Jesus, I see God himself became a man, and it's like he took divinity and he infused it into the natural order. Like he took on a very natural body, and we just celebrated Easter, and God actually raised the physical body of Jesus from the dead. Like the physical materiality of the world is actually infused with the spiritual. There's in Christianity, there's no division, so you wouldn't necessarily say, doing your studies is not spiritual, but like praying is spiritual. You wouldn't say, when you're cooking your supper or something, that's not a spiritual activity versus, maybe you're into fasting. Maybe that's something you want to do, or hanging out with your friends is somehow more spiritual than anything else, really.
Yeah.
Like, I think the amazing thing about what Jesus did when he became a human, and the fact that God has sent his Holy Spirit to live on the inside of us, is he's activated us and made us alive spiritually, and Jesus kind of brought the two together in one.
Yep.
So there's not this separation anymore, and this categorizing between like this is spiritual and this isn't, which means I can have a spiritual experience with God in a conversation.
Yeah.
In anything I do, which is actually, it adds like infinite possibility to my whole life. And I love that.
Yeah, I like it. I think, so we sometimes try to compartmentalize and say, okay, this over here separate from this over here. And we were, so the Gospel in 10 Words is a book by Paulo. It's one of the chapters in there about, the gospel about being saved, one of the words in there is union, that we're one with Christ.
Right.
And so if we're one with Christ, then in everything we do, you know what I mean? We're doing it with the Lord is with us doing, which is kind of encouraging. So if I'm trying to, at my job, do a task that I'm really, I'm finding challenging or frustrating, the Holy Spirit can help me do those tasks, right? Or if I'm having fun, he's with me having fun too. It's not separate. He doesn't separate, so I'm going to be a part of, X, Y, and Z, part of Madeline's life, but not these other places.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is good news.
That is good news. Hey, God's with me all the time. And the potential for spiritual experience with him. Like, I just am a walking spiritual experience with Jesus. Like, he's just so real to me because of that. So what about, people don't want to organize religion, don't want to be told what to do, and I understand that completely. Like, I think Jesus, he gave us his Holy Spirit, and he makes us something. Like, it's all about who we are rather than what we do because of what he's made us. But what are ways people, ironically, the trend is, I guess, is to reject organized religion, to embrace spirituality, but we're still trying to find ways to express that spirituality in concrete ways. And one of the ways that we do that is we gather once a week on Sundays. We get involved in groups. We're doing our Zoom groups. Another shout out to Friday night. But so what are you doing in your life right now? How are you connected? Like, what are you doing for your devotionals or things like that? What are you doing?
Well, I think devotion can look like a lot of things. I think I have a really calm neighborhood, so I'll just walk around and then just chat with the Lord. So that's one way. Reading different books, reading parts of the Bible.
What are you reading in the Bible right now?
What am I reading? Well, I just finished in Mark. And it was fun. I was chatting with someone, and as we were going through the Great Divide series about Easter and all that, I was reading like the story of Jesus dying on the cross, raising again, everything before that. So that was really fun. So I'm in Luke now,
Nice.
I'll find some different stuff.
Matthew, Mark.
Probably is how it's gonna go. It's fun. So we went through the Bible in a year last year as a church, the Jesus trip, which was really fun and interesting.
Yeah.
But everything was kind of preset out for you, like this is what you're gonna read today.
Right.
And so in 2020, I'm like, sheesh, where do I start?
Right.
What do I read? Because you can do topical stuff like, oh, I want to know about miracles or whatever, healing prayer. Yeah. So I don't know. I just started in the New Testament.
Yeah, that's all right. Work your way through.
What are you doing?
Well, I spend some time in the morning reading my Bible, and sometimes I like to do the methodical kind of structured, like work your way through. Sometimes I just pick a topic and just go off on some sort of tangent, rabbit trail, and study the heck out of it, or something. But I've got some go-to things that I always go to. I love Romans chapter 8. I love John chapter 14, 15, 16. Just some things that just perpetually are always helpful. Really enjoying the book of Galatians right now, but lots of things, lots of ways to stay connected, lots of ways to continue to be fed, I guess, if that's the right analogy. I don't know.
Podcasts, preaches,
true.
Whatever, or even it could look like a lot of different things. Like you said at the beginning, just having conversations with people.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean? Fellowshipping, like we're doing right now.
All right, so I like it. So I guess one thing that I would want to say, or just really want to be clear about, is that like all of life is spiritual because Jesus has made us alive as spiritual people, and He hasn't created this divide between like spiritual activities and non-spiritual activities. Like all of our life could be just this big giant experience with Jesus because He's with us, He's in us, He's made everything significant, everything spiritual, and that just gives me so much hope, especially in times like this where it feels like there's a little bit of restriction on life. I mean, there certainly is, but I love the spiritual. I'm not restricted in any way.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, like, even other creative ways. Just going. I remember going to a concert and just seeing, like, how everything was done with excellence, the live music, the energy in the room. All that is spiritual too, right? And you can appreciate, like, man, Jesus created all things creative.
All things.
He created all things creative. So I would say that could be a spiritual moment too. Do you know what I mean?
Sure, I do.
Expressing or appreciating all the beauty that He made. So
I like it. Well, guys, find a way. Like, I don't know, message us. Tune into our conversations. Friday nights we're doing Zoom calls, and we want to connect with you. We want to know what do you think? What do you think about what is this thing? This spiritual versus religious? What are your thoughts on that? The question that we've been kind of throwing back and forth: can you be more or less spiritual? What are you doing in your life right now? How are you doing your devotions? How are you staying connected with other believers? Let us know. We want to know. We want to interact with your ideas. So,
that's good. I think that's all. And then we'll see you next Monday at 7 p.m. for another topic of conversation.
Sounds good.
See you guys.